It's time for BBL 14. This season, the Heat become the hunted, while the Sixers will be out to exact revenge. The Scorchers will be looking to add to their already stacked trophy cabinet, and the Stars and Hurricanes, well, they're still chasing that elusive first title. International stars galore and local talent in spades, this is The Surge. Yes, hello everybody and welcome to the BBL version of The Surge. We've had the WBBL. The champions were crowned with the Renegades winning there, and now it's up to the men. Adam White with you throughout the course of the summer, and I'm very excited to welcome in Peter Siddle, who will be part of our team throughout the course of the summer. Brad Hodge will be part of it as well. But Sids, I can't believe it, but you are actually playing again, and you're also part of our team. Welcome.
Yeah, a bit of a change. I was going to have the season off and just sort of ease out of it a bit. But, late little call-up from Clint Mackay at the Stars, and, I couldn't knock it back. So, looking forward to playing as well.
Now, you've been part of it all since it started, the BBL, but it's your 10th official season. How exciting is it to still be involved?
I think I just love playing cricket, as you know, and I think everyone knows these days. Obviously, I've got along in age, but, great to be a part of it. And like you said, the very first season of the BBL, I was signed with the Stars, didn't play because of international duties, but, quite fitting that I'll come back and finish up at the Stars at the end.
Have you got all the shirts in the wardrobe at home, all the different colours? Almost like you got the full Wiggles outfit.
I nearly do, but no, I've never been a big collector, so I've been good. Don't really hoard anything, so I usually give them away to friends and family. But it'd be a big assortment of colours, that's for sure.
As I said, the WBBL season has finished, so it is all up to the men now with the BBL. Brad Hodge is going to join us shortly, and we're going to have a bit of a season preview, go through all the teams and try and work out who's going to win this thing this year. But as we've done with the WBBL, we're going to go straight into the power play now and talk about some of the key issues of the competition before it starts. And so we'll go back to you. How is it that you are playing this year for the Stars?
Yeah, exciting. Like I said, I think the Big Bash has always been an exciting format. And I think ever since it came into Australia, that it's been a big hit. It's through a great time of the year, and it's exciting to play. Even from a traditionalist that loves red ball cricket, I've really loved playing the T20, especially in Australia. I think the grounds, how they put on the games, all the teams. I've been lucky enough, like you said, to play at a few different teams now, and even venture across to Adelaide and play there for 5 or 6 years. Was unbelievable. And I think, just the whole show around the country that rolls with the Big Bash is super exciting. Hence why, I wanted to be a part of it one last time. Just looking forward to, having a crack and also, like you said, seeing some of these new faces around different teams.
So how did it happen? Did you just get a call out of the blue to say, hey, we might need you, or how did it actually unfold?
I sort of knew there was the spot left. Obviously, Benny Rohrer is an assistant coach at Victoria and the Stars, so he was always joking with me throughout the season so far that I was going well, and would I be interested in playing, and dropping a few hints like that, but hadn't really thought too much about it. And then like I said, Clint Mackay, I was sitting down for dinner with one of my best mates, and he's like, "Can you give me a quick call?" Walked out, and his first question, whereas most you'd be saying, "Oh, we got a contract for you," his was, "Do you want to play?" More to the point. And then if you want to play, there's a contract there. So. It was pretty exciting, even at my age, and all the contracts I've signed and the teams I've played for. It's still an exciting call to have, and Clint and I go way back when we played together at Victoria and for Australia. So, still as excited as I was as a young kid getting the call. It was just as exciting for that. So, couldn't pass it up. Like I said, Big Bash is so exciting, super fun to play. Hard sometimes as a fast bowler, but hell of a lot of fun, excitement. See the kids there enjoying it. I could not say no.
Now, it is supposed to be your last year, but have you exceeded expectations with how well you've gone? Because you've done well in the Sheffield Shield for Victoria, but you've done particularly well in the One Day Cup as well. Has it sort of got you thinking, or it's definitely it?
No, it definitely hasn't got me thinking. I think I was had a good chat to Stoyan yesterday, and he's asking how it's going. He's like, "You've had a good same thing. You've had a good year. It seems to be clicking well." And but I think it's knowing that it's near the end. You can just give more, knowing that you don't have to save anything for anything else.
Yep.
And it just gives you that freedom. I think, I'm just so relaxed. I just go out knowing that's, closer to the last game. Makes it a lot easier to go out there and just enjoy the game. The disappointing things that happen throughout games, whether it's, going wicketless or, bowling a bad over, it sort of just gets brushed away because you're just like, you're not as worried about, the end result as much. And I think by being that sort of relaxed and calm, that it is making me, just get through games easier and perform. And I think I've always said about it, to you over the years that I want to make sure I'm not taking up a spot and not performing. I'd be the first to walk out if that was the case. Knowing that each game I play, whatever format, that I just want to go out there, do my best, hopefully perform well as personally, but then help the team have success. And it's been nice to be able to do a little bit of that this year and get some individual success, but along the way, put in some good performances with Victoria and going into the Big Bash time, we're in a good position. So it's been a nice start to the year.
All right, as I said, Brad Hodge will join us shortly to go through all the teams. And I want to talk about the draft and the pre-signings and also the coaching moves. But just one sort of overarching view on the importance of the BBL to just domestic cricket here in Australia. You're perfectly qualified to talk about this. Do you feel that the BBL has improved domestic cricket just generally, getting these younger players opportunities to play in front of big crowds on the TV, high-pressure environments, that it's helped cricket overall?
I think, definitely how you put it just then. I reckon that is what we've seen. I guess you get lots of people will know. You come to a Sheffield Shield game or a one-dayer, there's not a lot of people in the crowd. So you can, as a young up-and-coming player, it can be very comfortable. It's not much different than in Premier Cricket. You can just come in and you feel at home and the standard goes up, but, you feel not that much pressure. I think that's the best thing. The Big Bash, big crowds, get them in front of that. It's on TV. It's noticed around the country. It's in the papers. It's talked about. It's such a big thing. So I think exposing them to that at an earlier age has definitely seen some people excel and go forward. And you probably just use a little one like Sammy Harper over the years is probably one that's got introduced early on and has come along a long way. Ollie Davies at New South Wales and at Sydney Thunder is probably another one that exposed early. Through more Big Bash than state cricket, and then now have turned into integral parts of their state team. So, there's going to be a few more young up-and-comers, no doubt, throughout this season that they get their opportunity and will no doubt end up being star players for their state and country, hopefully.
All right, so from the pre-signings, the draft, we saw Josh Brown change teams, Laurie Evans, Tom Curran, Sam Billings. They're probably the four main ones that kind of stand out. What were some of the things that you noticed from that period, sort of the silly season in cricket that sort of pricked your interest?
Yeah, I think probably the pre-draft signing, that was probably the big one. The big change, obviously, rather than just the straight-up draft that we'd previously had, go to the pre-draft signing where, each team could sign one individual at a different level, whatever level they negotiated with that player, whether it was platinum, gold, silver, whatever the level. But I found that very exciting. And more for the fact that their availability. I think that's something that's probably affected the Big Bash a little bit over the last, 5 or 6 years, is with these other competitions coming in around the world, it's been hard to sign the big name players, especially the internationals, to play the whole tournament.
You get them to commit.
Commit to finals. And now to sign that contract, you need to now commit to the whole series.
Yep.
All the home and away and finals. So I think that's exciting, especially to see guys like, like you said, Tom Curran, Sam Billings come back, Colin Munro.
Yes, yeah.
Those big name players that we've had previously, but sometimes had disappeared at different stages. Chris Jordan down at the Hurricanes, that's huge, I think. I think it's going to be exciting. It makes for a good play to have them here now for the full thing and give the fans that full guarantee that they're going to be here, barring international call-ups, but they're going to be committed to the whole tournament.
And from a draft point of view, one of the things that interested me, and we'll talk to Hodgie about this, was the way the Renegades went about it. I felt that they were not sneaky, but a bit clever the way they went and got Laurie Evans early, and then Bethel comes in that no one really knew too much about before he was drafted. Then all of a sudden he's playing for England. We'll talk about the coaches shortly, but it feels like they really liven things up with the way they've got about things. Josh Brown is the other example of that.
Yeah, for sure. I think, there's and it's about that they've drafted to the side to what they needed to fill. Yep. And I think, I know that's what everyone should be doing and does, but sometimes when the draft comes out, the players left certain levels that you can't actually, get that. And I think that Laurie Evans, drafting is that perfect point. They needed a middle order hitter. They obviously have the power at the top, so they didn't need anyone at the top. Let's get that power hitter. And someone that's played in Australia as well, been successful, got a very good record. They did well there. And like you said, Bethel, I think there's been a lot of hype about him. I play a lot in England, so I've seen him a lot. I've played against him. There's a lot of hype there, but probably not people in Australia wouldn't have known about him. But as we've seen over the last 6 months, he's now, he's debuted in all 3 formats. Test cricket, the one that probably thought he was the furthest away from, he's he's lit it up so far in New Zealand. So exciting draft that player, and especially young up and comer, enthusiastic. Him and McGurk going off together could be, it's a bit of a eye to the future.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about the Renegades a little bit later on with a bit more focus. So just before we take a break and Hodgie comes in, the coaches. So Johan Botha, who is new coach of Queensland, now doing the job at the Heat as well. So he's one of the new coaches. But Tim Payne and Cam White, so 2 players that have played in the Big Bash, both have captained their country. To have them as coaches, I think that's really exciting because, as I said at the start, there's a bit of freshness about it, but I reckon they might do things a little bit differently.
Yeah, for sure. I think they've played a lot of T20 cricket, or been around T20 cricket for a long time. And even Johan, he obviously played in Australia, strikers and sixers, I'm pretty sure. So he's played a lot, but played a lot around the world as well, internationally. So they know the game well. It's going to be exciting how they go about it. And I think you've probably seen, like we just spoke about with the Renegades, how Whitey was drafted and set up his side. Showed how he's going to go about it. But he's done his apprenticeship. He's been around the system for a while now. He was assistant coach at the Strikers with me.
The Strikers. Yeah.
Then went and linked up with Shippy up at the Sixers and had a long stint there. So he's been waiting for the right opportunity. He bided his time and now he's got it. And I think quite fitting that he's obviously back home in Victoria coaching and getting that first opportunity and back at the Renegades where he won it.
Absolutely. All right, don't forget the BKT Big Bash tipping. It's back for the men. We've had it for the women. So join today for a chance to win $1,000 each week, as well as the $10,000 overall prize. Download the Big Bash app to get involved today. So a break, and we'll come back with Brad Hodge as we start to go through all the teams for the new BBL season. And welcome back to The Surge. Adam White and Peter Siddle with you as we preview BBL 14, which gets underway this weekend. Also got some help, Sids, because Brad Hodge joins us to go through all the teams. Hodgie, welcome.
Adam, thank you very much, Pete. Howdy.
You're looking forward to another season, BBL 14.
Sounds a lot, doesn't it? 14. Yeah, I'm pretty excited, actually. Last year's competition was really good, moving down from 14 games to 10. Felt the competition was really intense. And it's exciting. The summer's been an amazing start, and I think BBL will be just as exciting.
We're talking before about there's a bit of a freshness about it this year with 3 new coaches out of 8 teams, quite a fair bit of movement as well. Do you see a situation where the game might be played a little differently this year?
I'm not sure about differently, but there'll certainly be some exciting teams to keep an eye on, that's for sure. You mentioned the new coach, Cameron White at the Renegades, and there's some a new signing there as well, Josh Brown, who's as exciting as anyone. So there'll certainly be a team to keep an eye on. But that's the usual suspects to keep their list together, which are always pretty strong, aren't they? The Sydney Sixers and the Perth Scorchers that seem to have a monopoly on good talent. So they're always going to be strong. But I think that it's going to be super exciting, really competitive, that's for sure. And I like the look of a few overseas that are coming as well.
All right, let's get straight into the teams with the Perth Scorchers. Always feel like we should start with them considering how many titles they've won over the journey. Sids, why are they so good?
I think Hodgie just alluded to it there. It was just, they've been able to hold a good core group of their local boys together throughout the whole time. You look past, you got Mitch Marsh. Yes, he goes and comes, but like Jai Richardson, Berendorf, Ty. So there's like 3 world-class bowlers and they're always available for him. So that's a great start. You add in Ashton Agar, spin, all-round capabilities. And then their batting, Ashton Turner has been probably the mainstay there throughout the years. And then they've done well with their overseas signings over the last few years. Obviously, Laurie Evans has now moved, but has been amazing for them. But I think Hodgie also said there's been some good overseas signings, and Finn Allen's probably going to be, one of the most exciting throughout the whole competition, and they've got him up top.
Yeah. What do you see about the Scorchers this year?
Same. It's all about the leadership, isn't it? They've just got a good core group of leaders that Sid's mentioned in Ashton Turner, and they're just hard to dismantle. That place over there at Optus Stadium is hard. It's hard to get a win, just like the Wacker was with the Orange Army there. But
so is it a genuine home ground advantage because of the crowd or because of the conditions?
Bit of both, actually. Like it's a pretty heated cauldron when you're in there playing, and the Perth Scorchers are on top.
Yeah.
It does feel pretty intimidating. But once you get on top of them, you can sort of use that to your advantage as well as a player. But as a broadcaster, as a spectator, it's really cool to watch. It's a great place to play. And the one thing that they do well is they get off to a good start and they play the conditions well, and opposition is still trying to find their feet, at the start of a season, but they seem to have this core group that can gel it together. But I'm super excited to see what Cooper Connolly can bring to the table as well after his little injury in his one-day international debut. But he's an exciting player, and it's just that bowling attack. It's a relentless pressuring bowling lineup, and as Sid's mentioned, You've more chance of breaking out of prison than extracting some talent from Perth over to the eastern seaboard. So it's a hard thing to do. A couple have made that move, but they just seem to bring this homegrown talent and keep it.
Now, you're a bowler, Sid, so we often talk, and I don't want to sound like I'm an American here by saying defense versus offense.
Oh, yeah.
But when it comes to Perth, their bowlers, it's that sort of that defense. It's hard to break down, and they've always had a strong battery of pace that I guess suits their conditions.
It does, yeah. Hodgie said that the Wacker, and then they moved to Optus, and you think, maybe the pitch conditions will change and bring the other teams back into it. But it's the same conditions. You see them rock up there, Berendorf rocks up and swings it around corners in the power play. Richardson bowls at pace, seaming it around, getting good bounce, and then Ty comes in the middle and does the same thing. It's hard. They start well with the ball. They take wickets up front. And then throughout the middle, like you said, the defence, then it just locks in. They know how to defend their field. They bowl to good plans. And I think that's the knowledge of playing together for so long under the same leadership, the same coach, that they just understand how to go about it. And, wherever they end up, they're going to be thereabouts and going to be hard to beat.
Before we get some predictions, Hodgie, you talked about the leadership. Ashton Turner, there's a bit of an injury issue with him. Hopefully he plays most of the tournament, but he is a captain, and then Adam Voges as a coach. There's others that are in there, sometimes captaining the team as well. But the way they do it strategically, I think it's one of the features of the way they go about it.
Yeah, well, they have got that luxury, haven't they, ahead of the likes of the Renegades, Stars, and the Sydney and Melbourne teams. Obviously, the group that find it a little bit more difficult. We mentioned just before about the Strikers and how they just have this camaraderie of a group as well and spectators, and it's a little bit the same for the West. They're hard to break down. They, as I said, they've had the same group of people for a long period of time, that leadership group of players. And the great thing about that is that when you're under pressure, you know what your partner does at the other end. So that's half the battle of franchise cricket, understanding what your mate does under pressure and how they react and what they're going to go to. And the Perth Scorchers just seem to have that nutted out to a pretty high level.
Do you like Finn Allen?
Yeah, I love him. Yeah, I think it's going to be exciting, that's for sure. And it's scary because they're overseas players that the Perth Scorchers have. Their batters haven't really nailed it, apart from Laurie Evans, who's been pretty good. They've had a few players up the top that have done okay, but it's been the little bowling units that they've brought in that have just chipped away. And what that says that their squad is extremely talented. But Finn Allen, I reckon, is going to bring a different level. Cast my mind back to when Herschel Gibbs played there back in the early days, and you've just got that fiery character at the top which goes hard, scores freely, and he's going to be dangerous for sure.
What about Marley Beardman? Because this is one for you, Sids, as a young bowler coming through. He also was over the Australian team in the UK, but Someone that's obviously his CV is all about what he's done under 19 cricket, but is he someone that you think has got the capacity of making an impact this year?
Yeah, for sure. I think that would be my player to watch for their team, as in, up and comer. Jai Richardson, Behrendorff, Ty have had their injuries over the last couple of years, so mightn't play every game. To have Marley on the sidelines, ready to go and get out there and perform, I think, it will be exciting. He's played a couple of games here and there now, but I think, he'll be definitely someone to watch, and he's got some skills like Jai, so he could be hard one to come up against.
All right, where are we having the Scorchers finishing? We don't have to go first, second, third, or fourth. Are they top 2 or 3? Are they middle table?
They're going to make the finals. Yeah. They always do. They're going to win enough games at home to put pressure on other teams to be able to win. So I think they'll make the finals. I'm not convinced yet that they're going to be top 1 and 2, but I think they'll definitely make the finals.
What do you reckon, Sids?
Yeah, I think the same. I think, last year, Bancroft had left. So to fill that spot now of Finn Allen, that's probably what they were sort of missing maybe last year. If he comes off, that probably determines, how high they finish. But definitely finals, they're always super competitive. And like we said, bowling attacks is unbelievable.
All right, that's the Perth Scorchers. Now to the Peter Siddle's Melbourne Stars. Yeah. I'm not sure whether we even need to talk to Sids about the Stars, Hodgie, because he'll just be biased.
Yeah.
But I want to start by asking you about this whole, issue to perform. Particularly in recent times, we sort of feel like they've got this good team, certainly from a batting point of view, but you look at their results over even just the last couple of years, 6th last year, 8th the year before. Can you put a finger on why they haven't performed perhaps to their potential?
No, I can't actually. I don't know the inner sanctum that well enough to be able to dissect it as hard as what we should, but I'm not quite sure. Having a look at the players, I don't think they've had enough. They've had the power, and they haven't had the consistency of everyone playing together either. So we've had Maxwell out, we've had Stoinis out, we've had Cartwright out. There's been a few players that have been out for the whole tournament or periods of that, which has enabled them not to gel enough. I like this side. Whether Sid's here or not, it's going to be biased or not. I tipped them on the spin last night to actually be champions. Going on what you just said, that the list looks good, they should play well. But I think one thing that they need to do is really make the MCG a bit more of a fortress, like we just talked about the Perth Stadium. I don't think they've been so successful in that venue that they should be. Like, it's a really unique venue where it's wide, square of the wicket. The wicket sometimes can be challenging. It can be fast at times. So that's something that they really have to adapt to. They certainly need some leaders to stand up and take the train where it needs to go. Like, I'm just not sure they've been that real desperate to actually win. That's what I want to see. I want to see some desperation and bring the fans on board and really show the fans what they're thereabouts to do.
It's interesting you've talked about the unique size of the ground and the dimensions of the ground. Back when you were playing for Victoria, it was seen as a real strength in playing the venue, the long square boundaries, making them play out to the sweepers. It worked for Victoria a lot of the time. But then when you look at the Stars team at the moment, there's not a lot of Victorians actually in the team that actually know how to play the conditions.
Got brought up by a good friend of mine, Gareth Smith, who's a cricket leader at Hailbury, and that was one of his frustrations, actually. And I think that's actually been their downfall over the period of time. As I said, talking about people playing under pressure and knowing what your mates do in that instance, I think if you said to every Victorian, they'd know how they react under pressure when they're trying to score runs in the middle. And then that just is dissect. And now you've got people from all over the country coming to try and fill a void in a Melbourne side. I just don't think it's worked. So that's a real test for the coach and the management and the leaders to be able to make that happen and gel. And only time will tell again.
So, Sid, just going into the environment, now you've been back in there for 5 minutes, so it's a bit unfair to talk too much about the culture of the team.
This is the turning point, Adam. This is it right here.
He's the Victorian coming in. But when you see players coming from Western Australia, coming from Tassie, they're sort of, really important key players coming from different parts. How do you actually build a culture where you can actually have that trust in each other?
Yeah, and I think the squad now has been together long enough, like the key players, like you're saying. I think it's just about, sort of getting them to understand, why Victoria was successful there. That's probably the hard part, to try and get that across. And like Hodgie said, Maxi probably hasn't been around. He's played a lot of cricket there. He's played the most cricket there, but around enough at different times to be able to ingrain that in some of the other guys, how to play those conditions, how to play that stadium. So I think, it's just about developing that, because if you look at, Stoyne played Victoria, but then has played at the Stars for a long time. Hiltz has played there for a long time. Bo has played there for a long time. That's the middle order. I think it's just about, getting them to understand how to play it, which they do to an extent. But it's exciting. You got Harps and Tommy Rogers now.
Yep.
Will get opportunities throughout that, hopefully, like you said, through that middle order, they can control the game and know how to work that field, because it is different and it is an easy way to bat. And we've seen Maxi do that a lot over the years. So, I think it's just about it being exciting. Enjoy what's going on. Obviously, a new captain in Stoyne.
How do you think he'll
now
go?
Learning. I think it'll be good. I think, it'll be a nice little freshen up, I think. Maxi did it for a long time. Now he can just go sit back, enjoy his cricket. Obviously, firstly get fit, but then enjoy his cricket and just play the game. And I've seen with Victoria this year, when he's done that, he's been very relaxed in the field. And he's actually just had a great time playing. So I think it'd be good. See Stoyne stand up and be a leader, and I think it'll help his just all round cricket. Wanting to stand up and lead by example, which is something that he likes to do anyway. Now he's captain. Let's see him show that, and I'm looking to see him have a really good season.
Where would you have Marcus Stoinis in the batting order, Hodgie? Because we've seen him have that amazing season at the top. But then when he plays for Australia, it's more in the middle. And even last year for the Stars, it was more in the middle. Where should he play?
It's a tough question, isn't it? And probably only he can answer that. I think he should actually bat at the top for the Melbourne Stars. But then I know the conundrum that most coaches would face, because there's not too many people that can clear the pickets like him. We saw his last innings for Australia against Pakistan, where he just smashed them all over the park down there at Blunston Arena. So So what do you lose to pay off that sort of loss? I think that if you go and say, Marcus, can you open the batting and make 450 runs like Matt Short does at Adelaide, then I reckon that's a pretty good offering. So he might take that upon his leadership. I think he'll be a really good leader for the Melbourne Stars. And it might allow him to bowl a little bit more as well. Might just push through a little bit more with his body. He has trouble backing up, so he'll be able to manage that quite well. But maybe straight to the top with that middle order though. It still hasn't quite nutted out how to line up on that MCG. So that's one of the other things. The other thing is that Bo Webster's in really good touch as well. So maybe that void in the middle with Maxi can be replaced, and the Hilton Cartwright come in and play that 6 role, which frees Marcus up to go to the top.
I've got a feeling Tom Curran's going to be really important. I mean, he's been important for the Sixers, so I'm only stating the obvious, but I think he's bringing something to the Stars that they haven't had.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've always seen it. When I've come up against him, it's always been that player that comes in at 6, 7, 8, for the Sixers, and you'd be like, you think you've got him on the ropes, and then he comes out and gets 40 off 20, and it's like, that's with the bat, and he's taken the game away from you there, and then he comes out with the ball, and, on his day, is one of the best, defensive players, like we were talking before. That's where his real skill is, I think, is, defensive through the middle, but then when he's on with the finishing at the death, can be quite tough to get away. So, it's exciting to be on the same team as him. I think, he feels a good part in any team, and he makes up a great position in the Stars lineup for balance. And I think something that they've probably missed, and they probably floated around with sort of with Bo Webster and sort of Coulter-Nile over the last few years. You've got a player that probably fits into that genuine all-rounder position a lot better, and suits T20 cricket.
I like their overseas players. I think they've got a real good trio there with Tom Curran, as you mentioned, Duckett, who I reckon is going to be outstanding at the top, and Osama Mir, who I reckon is an underrated leg spin bowler. So they've got the recipe there. There's no reason why they shouldn't succeed. And if they don't succeed, then you have to ask some serious questions in about 6 weeks' time, and we'll be able to hit City up pretty hard as to why.
So as we wrap up the Stars, how many games do you think you will play? Are you hoping to play all of them, half of them, rotating with Scotty as you do for Victoria? Where do you sort of see yourself?
I don't really know. And I think, but like similar to the Victorian stuff and like we spoke about earlier at the start of the show is that I'm ready to go. I know I haven't got many games left. So when I'm in, I'm ready to go and perform. And so who knows? Scotty, the chances of getting him is probably pretty slim, maybe until the back end of the Aussie stuff. So we'll see there. But get me in your super coach, I reckon.
Very good. We'll talk about that later on. So you reckon they're going to win it? That's your tip.
Well, they should, yeah. And they're due after 14
years. What if Maxi goes to Sri Lanka?
Well, there's a good chance of actually doing that, yeah. Look, that's one player, and I know it's a huge player, but, and we've said it, the list is there. There's enough quality in that lineup to be able to get the side into the finals and then have a tilt from there. So whether they'll finish 1 or 2, I'm not sure, but it's definitely a finals team.
All right, good. That's good. And they actually kick, the two teams we've already spoken about, the Scorchers and the Stars, kick things off on Sunday night. The Sydney Sixers, runners-up in BBL 13. Are they a better team this year or not as good this year when you look at them on paper, Peter Siddle?
They're still going to be good. They're similar to the Perth story that, you know, they've been good. Yeah, they've been good for a long time. They've got good leaders, a good core group. But I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be Stephen O'Keefe. Obviously, he played this perfect role for him for a very long time. Akil Hussain, a great signing, I reckon, and a good coverage for that. But can he consistently do what Stephen O'Keefe did for him all the time and played, held up that role? So, yeah, I don't know. Moses has been out for a little bit this season already. Jordan Silk probably hasn't been at his best for Tasmania. So, like, we're talking about their key players in the middle, haven't played as much cricket as they would have liked. So, yeah, I think we'll have to wait and see.
And Vince is back, but he's not back for the whole tournament either, which he's been so good for them for so long. We're talking about the Scorchers, Hodgie, and how they play their conditions very well. That's what the Sixers have always been able to do at the SCG.
They do, and it's you mentioned Akil Hussain, Menenti, Murphy, the young leg spinner. So, they've got enough spin, which creates a lot of problems for a lot of players. And the wicket actually at the SCG has been an absolute mystery for 2.5 years. And that's one of the things which they do well is they adapt to that, and other sides probably don't. So you go out the middle of the SCG, you look at the wicket and you think, what's happened here? What has happened to the grass? It looks sort of diseased and bare and crazy. And I'm not sure what the actual issues have been, but you can see that the players, talking to Josh Philippi, that he's not actually sure what surface they're going to get when they walk out and, toss the coin. So they do adapt well there. A little bit like the Perth Scorchers. They've had that core group of players, that sort of centre around Moses and do their job. I'm not convinced that their batting is as good as what everyone thinks. Their bowling unit's always been good with Abbott, Dorcius, and the spinners. But I think their batting is actually a little bit vulnerable this year. If you actually manage Jordan Silk being that power play specialist that he is, if you can keep Philippi quiet, and if Moses does miss a few through injury, then, I think they are a little bit vulnerable.
It feels that way. So Greg Shipperd has coached them there for quite some time. You know Shippy extremely well. What makes him such a good coach?
Well, he's good at throwing the keys when things go power. That's what he's good at. He's extremely measured. That's what he is. And if you look at that list, he would have gone, soccer's a big hole. How do I fill that? And he's filled that with Hussain. Exactly what Pete was talking about. He'll structure his side around the spinning unit. So clearly there's 4 spinners in the side, which that's a condition-based thing. Mm-hmm. So that's going to pose a challenge for all players coming in from interstate to play on that SCG with 4 gun spinners. So he'll manipulate that side to work it very well. He's great at getting the best out of younger players as well. So we've seen Hayden Kerr shine up there for the magenta. So little things like that, he's a master at. He's really good at working with the captain about understanding the strategy about how they're going to go about things. So look, hopefully his health holds up. The little fella, he loves his cricket and he's pretty intense about it. But he just brings a really good strategic mind to a Big Bash side or any coaching job for that matter.
What's it like bowling at the SCG? Hodges just talked about the conditions, but what's it like? Do you have to bowl differently there to say perhaps what you would bowl, say, at the Adelaide Oval?
Yeah, you do. It is a weird one. You do. You rock up, like Hodgie said, you look at the wicket and you just got no idea what's going to happen. And I think to go with that, yeah, they've based it around the spin, but you watch Abbott and Dorcius have adapted really well and got good records there over the last couple of years. And it's just you hit the stumps, you be consistent. As silly and as simple as that sounds, they've been able to do it well. And I think we've seen with Abbott, haven't we? He's been outstanding for a long time.
Yeah.
But especially the last few years at the SCG. So it has been hard. I think the hardest part is for the batters, isn't it? The bowlers probably get a little bit because the wicket sort of helps the bowlers to an extent. So it's probably been harder for the batters to adapt, especially coming from interstate. So that's probably the hardest part, getting enough runs, whether you're chasing or trying to set, how to go about getting a total. But either way, they just bowl unbelievable on it.
And then bowling to someone like James Vince, who has the capacity to hit proper cricket shots for six, over cover, over wicket, wherever. It seems that when he's on, he's almost the hardest to bowl to. Is that a fair call?
No, definitely. I've played him a lot in England as well, in their blast over there. And yeah, he's just that type of player. If he's on, he's probably going to make a big one. And that's what happens. And you see him go off. He just bats pretty technically correct, which is a bit different to most T20 specialist players. But he goes about it his way and, can score fast, can score big, can be, a hell of a lot of trouble for any side. So, who knows how he goes this year. But, he's been a consistent there for a long time and he loves coming to Sydney. He loves coming to the Big Bash. Watch out for him.
All right, where are we going to have the Sixers?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think they're going to have the year that they expect. I'm just tipping a few other teams just to go a bit better. They'll be somewhere around that 3 to 6 mark, I think. Somewhere in that. I'm just not sure that if they have a few injuries that they can cover it. So that's the only issue that I see, particularly in their batting unit. So if Moses is out and has an injury or something like that, then I think they're a little bit vulnerable.
He's a big loss, leadership, captaincy, from the captaincy point of view, and then the batting, and then potentially the bowling as well. Where do you have the Sixers?
It's probably pretty similar. I think, Moses is the big one there. And even Abbott, he obviously just recently called up as an extra backup in the test squad. We know Josh is going to be fit and Scotty's going well. But if he at some stage has to go around as cover and they lose him, or he's a leading wicket taker in the Big Bash, isn't he?
Yeah.
Being a huge integral part of obviously the power play and death for them. If you lose that, it's hard coverage. So, that, any other injuries. So, there's lots of little things that could go on and play out throughout the season. But I think,
bit of an unknown with
it
them.
It is, yeah.
All right, what about the Melbourne Renegades? I think this team is the most exciting because I feel like they're so different to every other team with the way that they're set up. I mean, there'll be games where they might make 50 and there might be games where they make 250. It's a power-packed batting lineup, Hodgie.
It's going to be unreal, actually. I was sort of in the backgrounds when I knew that Josh Brown was coming to the Renegades, and I thought this was actually, I think he was thinking of it before he made the 100 in the final. Or if not, there was talks around.
There've been people to talk around.
Yeah, so it was like, is he coming? Is he not? And then, we're scoring that amazing, I think it was 130 or something in the final. Surely he's not coming. And then, you hear these words that Josh Brown's showing up, and then you think of this real six-a-thon between him and Jake Fraser McGurk. It's going to be entertaining to watch. The only unknown for him and Jake a little bit is that the wicket at Marvel is a little bit sort of questionable. Not that it's a bad wicket, just that you're not sure what you're going to get. Whether there can be a little bit of moisture, in the surface, and which can make the ball move around. If a ball doesn't move around and it's a good surface, Marvel Stadium's a beautiful place for hitting sixes. And we are going to see a truckload of them from these two. So you mention it like it's
not even just those two.
Nah, it's Laurie Evans as well, who's got it's a jam packed heavy hitting batter. Yeah, Bethel in there as well, which is a really cool signing as well. So they've got the makings of a really good like hard hitting batting unit, and it's different than everyone else's setup. So I like that. It's just found out that way, and then they've got right. Oh, let's change the tack. Let's not forget defense, but let's go aggressive and get the offense sorted out, and let's see what happens after that.
So when you rock up to play against the Renegades, Pete, how are you going to go about it?
Well, that's going to be the thing. They might dictate how you go about it, because you could bowl them out for 50, but they could be going at 15 and over from the word go as well. So then how you're starting the game is going to be totally different to how you actually have to bowl. So I think you're going to have to be on your toes against them, because they could go off and you'll be going defensive straight away and chopping around fields and chasing balls, and it could be a tough one. So you're going to have to be prepared against them, that's for sure. And obviously, we play the derby, don't we? We play it twice, so you're guaranteed to play them twice in both conditions, and it's going to be exciting. To play against, but to watch as well. Yeah, there's you got mates playing there and coaching there and stuff like that. It's going to be exciting games to watch. Hopefully, more so they're making those 250s not against us, and we'll see how we go.
Let's get the popcorn out when the Renegades are going out to bat. So, Hodge, you talked about hitting sixes at Marvel Stadium. It's a unique size ground in the sense it's quite long straight.
Very long.
But I've seen you hit some big balls up into the upper deck square of the wicket. How do you talk us into that mindset of picking your spots to hit? I mean, it can be dangerous hitting square of the wicket if it's full, but how do you do it?
Well, it's a little bit like Adelaide Oval. You just have this beautiful, attractive, short boundary square of the wicket, and you can't keep your eyes off it for the whole time you're out there batting, and then you're just sort of looking for particular balls in your hitting zone. That
length
you can
or line?
More length, actually. You want the length where you can sort of get under it. And that's the little tricky thing about the marble pitch, is that sometimes in the past, not so much the last 2 years, but previous to that, it could actually just keep a fraction low. So that's where you're vulnerable sort of hitting square of the wicket. But I'm just thinking more of Jake Fraser McGurk, not myself. So he's just looking for the length ball where he can sort of get under it and paste it into that mid-wicket boundary. And same with Josh Brown. So he'll probably have to adjust a little bit, because batting at the Gabba, well, that's quite the opposite, where straight is very short and attractive, and that feels like a kiddie hitting over mid-on that sometimes to changing that style. So he might have to adjust a little bit there, but I'm sure he'd be able to do it. So it's one of those professional things where good players adjust well. So it's like Pete, when he plays at the MCG, will get the ball into the wicket. When he goes to Adelaide, well, he nails the Yorkers, because that's the defensive part down the ground. You've got all that space where you want the player to hit it. So good players find a way and they adapt. The Renegades as well, those players coming there will certainly see that short boundary and hope it's not a distraction straight away. But a lot of people know how to play it.
I'm just so glad you're saying this, because us park cricketers, we think that every ball. It's good to know that you think it as well.
No, it's there. It's there.
So Cameron White, you know Cameron so well. You played so much cricket with him. As a coach, I don't think anyone knows how he's going to go or what he's going to be as a coach. But from knowing him as you do, how do you think he'll go about it?
Well, this is the horrible thing about coaching, is that your hands are in you're determined by other people, aren't you? It's in the hands of actually your playing group. No matter how well you perform, it's all on them. So for me, I think this is a really good appointment. Like, I was holding my fingers tight, hoping that Cameron would get that job. And I know it was hotly contested, and I'm glad he got it. What I think he'll bring to the table is it's a slightly newer group as well, with Finch and Marsh going out and a few others. He'll be able to bring his own experiences into that dressing room. And then I think he'll do a great job. I think he's a very well-educated coach now. He's done a lot of work on his coaching skills, and I think it'll be a seamless transition into a head coaching role. He's had a great preparation watching Shippy up at the Sixers and seeing how good sides roll. So, yeah, I think he'll do really well.
Sid, you played with him. He captained you. From a strategic point of view, do you think that's going to be his advantage as a coach with how he sees the game?
Yeah, I think that's working with him when, obviously he was at Adelaide Strikers with me when I was there, when he sort of first started moving into that sort of coaching role, and just seeing how he works with individuals. And I think that's the best is, helping individuals prepare, but from his strategic knowledge of the game. And I think that's what helped, Shorty's probably the perfect example. He worked with Shorty so much in those first few years at the Strikers to the player he is now, just with little things, knowledge of fields, the game, how it moves. That's what I see, getting individuals prepared really well, knowing their roles and how they go about it. His knowledge of the game, and especially the T20 game, someone that played a lot of it around the world that, very smart tactically. He'll obviously pass on that very well. Obviously, yes, Southo young captain.
Well, I was going to ask you, I mean, we talked about Cam captaining Australia in T20 cricket. To help a young captain in Will, that would have to be another advantage.
That'd be a huge advantage, I think, and probably a bit of an advantage for Cam as well, having a young captain, because you can't control the game when they're out there, but you can control how you prepare him as a captain. And I think Will's obviously always listening. He's a sponge. He takes that in that, Cam will be able to mould it to a way that he wants it, and then Will put his spin on it. I think it gives him a bit more control than he probably get at most teams. We'll see how it plays out. But it's going to be exciting coming up against him.
All right, Hodgie, where have you got the team in red?
Look, a key player for them to be successful is Kane Richardson. So if he has a good tournament and bowls well and is fully fit, then I've got him finishing second. I've got a Melbourne Derby final, actually.
Right.
Yeah, I've got Stars.
There'll be a lot of people that are going to think this is very biased, sort of.
Oh no, it's not. It is wishful thinking, that's for sure, and there is a little bit of bias in that. But it's more. I wouldn't have said it last year, but I can say it with some confidence this year that it actually could happen because they're two pretty good teams.
Sids, where do you have the Renegades?
Yeah, I think they're going to be competitive. I think, I'm with Hodgie. They got a good list. It probably does come down to the bowling group a little bit. Yes, the batting could be a bit up and down depending on how the bowlers, I think last year I was there and we probably just couldn't, get going with the ball. Richo, Tommy Rogers, Zamps, probably all didn't have their best years, which can be very dangerous because they'll have a lot to prove and want to turn things around. So, if those three get going, they're three of the best in the competition, aren't they, when they're up at their best? So, if they're firing, doesn't matter as much how many runs the team makes because, they're going to have the bowlers to defend or just, clean teams up. So, they're going to be, if at their best, they're definitely one of the best.
All right, that's a look at the first half of the competition as we preview BBL 14. Don't forget, the KFC BBL 14 starts December 15. It's the Scorchers and the Stars at Perth Stadium. And you can catch us on the Surge podcast throughout the course of BBL 14 all the way to the very end. And as always, you can stay up to date with the latest news on the Big Bash app. We'll catch you next time, not far away, as we preview the other four teams ahead of the season.